Anime is a form of entertainment that has quickly grown over the years, stepping into the mainstream, and it is something that has brought countless joy to thousands, hundreds of thousands out there, to people making memories, and people even finding friends along the way while watching some of their favorite shows. And with all good things, there is some things that start to obviously get muddied over the course of years. And the topic I want to talk about today is this in question: the live-action trend that has been going on within the recent months, that has continuously been getting announced. Now, to kind of explain here, basically, before this came out, before One Piece's live-action came out this past August, live-action in general was kind of looked at with just disgust. Many people that thought of, an anime turned into a live-action was just like, that is outright disgusting, it's not going to work, it's going to just outright ruin this series, the reputation, and to be fair, it makes sense for that type of attitude. You go back throughout many different anime that has been turned into live action, there is many case in point examples of why people would feel that way. So it's very clear that many people would want to kind of feel protective over the series that they love and enjoy, and not see them just outright ruined and demolished, and, the people that make the live actions not really getting the point of why people enjoy those in the first place. And to be fair, adapting something into a live action setting is very difficult, but, sometimes things just don't need a live action. They 100% don't, because, like, adapting something from an anime into a live action, there's always going to be limitations, always things that just cannot be done, like how it can be done with drawn animated content. And so, let's talk about this. So, what I'm getting at is that, thanks to, I think, the success of the live action of One Piece, there has been a slow trickle-in effect of just live actions getting announced, as you can clearly see here. Just at the end of last month, we had a live action Naruto movie that has been in the works and was announced, and then earlier today, it was announced that My Hero is going to be getting a live action through Netflix, and I'm just gonna straight up say, not everything needs a live action adaptation, because I feel like there is just, it's not going to always turn out like how this One Piece live action is. And let's be fair here, let's give credit where credit is due. Netflix obviously delivered this One Piece live action, and it was praised. People loved it. People joined in, and that was One Piece fans really did enjoy it. People that were not One Piece fans really enjoyed it, and people that liked the live action, wanted to dive into the manga or wanted to dive into the anime, which is good. All around, very successful adaptation of One Piece. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't realize that was put into this work that most live actions are just, they're not going to get. And what I mean by that is that Shueisha and Shonen Jump, the kind of the owners of One Piece alongside of Oda Sensei, the writer, they're very protective over One Piece. They look at One Piece as like their cash cow, their baby. They don't want to see basically the series that is the best selling in Japan tarnished and ruined and given a bad reputation or controversy or drama. They do not want none of that. And so when they probably had a contract written up with Netflix to be able to have a One Piece live action, it's very clear that there was some form of very strict contract in place to allow Oda Sensei, the writer of One Piece, more creative control over the live action work. It's very clear by just, Oda's statements and stuff he's made. He was heavily involved with the live action, kind of dictating kind of where it should go. He definitely was basically watching over it, making sure that everything that happened he approved of. And so it seemed like he really had hands-on with the entire production, which could in a way hurt maybe creativity with a live action. But at the same time, I think because of Oda being there is why the live action really turned out like it did, why many people really enjoyed it, and even the changes that were made, people enjoyed it. To be fair, I don't think the live action is perfect. I do think that it's solid. It's a great live action, but there is areas that I dislike as well. But once again, that doesn't take away from how good it actually was. So, with that kind of in the know, everybody's up to date with that, this kind of travels over into the, the live-action adaptations of, let's say, My Hero here to Naruto. And Naruto, let's be honest, it's a popular series. It is. Kishimoto wrote a series that obviously is going to just be something talked about for generations. It's still talked about to this day. And because of that and its legacy, yes, there is cultural impact with Naruto, but I don't personally believe Shueisha and Shonen Jump are as protective over this property as they are One Piece. And the same could be also said for My Hero Academia. My Hero might be popular as well, but I still don't think they're as protective over it, and I don't think that they're going to allow as much leeway with Horikoshi-sensei or Kishimoto-sensei to dictate certain actions within Hollywood or Netflix and their studios and all that. I doubt it's going to be the same treatment that Oda-sensei got when he was making the One Piece live action. So, with that all in consideration, it makes you start to worry. You're like, uh-oh, that's not good. It's probably not going to be the exact same, which makes sense. It's going to be live action, but it's going to be like, it might ruin characters, it might change things just to change things for the sake of it, and miss the entire point of why people are even into these stories in the first place. And let's just talk about this, okay? A Naruto live action, would it be good? Who knows? I mean, when you look at, like, let's say One Piece's live action, there was a lot of areas this could have gone wrong. I mean, the entire world needs to be an ocean, they're pirates, and there's, devil fruit abilities, like Luffy being a rubber man, so to speak. It's a very weird ability, and the way it was pulled off in the live action was uncanny, but it looked good. It did. It could have been better, but it still looked very good. And that was one of the areas that people were worried about that, might not be good, but it turned out to be completely fine. Even the fishmen, they looked absolutely awesome in the live action setting. And Buggy as well, there was a nice blend of realism applied to some of the funny designs and stuff within One Piece for the live action. And so, in terms of CGI, it's definitely possible, but there is limitations in a live action setting. And when you think about Naruto and what kind of happens within the story, it definitely, has still fantasy vibes to it. It's going to have chakra, different abilities used, oversized weapons and swords, all sorts of things. And I think that the overall fights and stuff are just going to look extremely weird within a CGI setting. It's going to look like a fan-made little parody of just, fighting each other and all that, like what you can find on YouTube, which can be funny, but if it's trying to be serious, it might not really look good, especially if they keep the overall hair color of all the characters. And that's the next thing. One of the things I have noticed about live actions, and I think that, I understand why they want to keep the colors of the hair and stuff intact, because they want people to recognize the characters. I personally think having the different colored wigs, like, for instance, like Nami with the, the orangish hair, or Zoro with the green hair, which they look good, yes, but, like, I feel like the colored wigs really stand out, and it makes things look kind of uncanny or just too anime-ish. And don't get me wrong, I think people would be upset if the hair colors weren't the same, but I think that having wigs on and stuff really make it kind of look cheap. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Now, you can feel free to disagree with me. I understand there will be, but I feel like when you see a bunch of these wigs on and all that, it looks very, very cheap because it just doesn't look that realistic. I think the only thing that would be kind of better in a sense was probably hair dye. I think actually dyeing someone's hair legitimately with, like, kind of temporary, like, green color or whatever would be fine, but I think having these very crazy wigs and stuff on characters definitely make them just look uncanny, and like I said, it looks cheap. It looks very cheap in a live action setting. Once again, that's my 2 cents. Now, it can be done good, but most of the time when you have these live actions, it looks like that. And I feel like, when you think about stuff like Naruto and the different hair designs and stuff, it's going to probably look cheap as well, at least with the different hairs. So I do hope that, maybe in terms of live action, they kind of shift away from that, but I don't know if they necessarily will, because there will be backlash from fans as well. But, getting into the main point I'm saying is that the trend, as of late, it is definitely focused heavily on making anything that's anime that is even remotely a smidgen popular into a live action. And it's basically saying that Hollywood and all them over there, don't really need to, like, they realize their stories aren't as good anymore. Now, nobody really cares about what they're writing anymore, and so they're trying to look to, the East and what they've been doing with anime and manga. They're like, oh, that's kind of popular, let's make a live action of that. And I've been noticing that has been an upward trend as of late, where they're just taking things and turning them into live action because they can't come up with their own original ideas. My Hero as well, just to get strictly into it, it is a superhero series, and superheroes obviously have been used a lot as of the last decade, and maybe almost 2 decades at this point, but even then, I think that, My Hero is a very special case of superhero, and I don't think it could look as good maybe as some of the other things that we've seen over the years, like from Disney, because of just the certain effort that is required with all the heroes that are on display within the story. Because it's kind of like continuously having Avengers non-stop, like just all these heroes on one screen with all this CGI and everything. It's going to look extremely weird, especially when you throw in the different hair colors and stuff of characters. But, anyways, I want to talk about this. This is a trend that's been going on. Personally, I don't really like the trend where everything has to have a live action now. But, I do know we can get some bangers like the One Piece one, but I don't think everything is going to be like that. I think it's a very special circumstance, and I just don't think stuff like, this is going to turn out to be very good, and it's going to once again give bad rep to these shows that people really love and adore, and people are going to be like, oh, so that's what it's about, and then just not ever want to start the original source, like the manga or anime. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. If you have anything to add to this matter, let me know in the comments below. But with that, Chibi out.